of Freilich and Chanukah, Guten Rosh Chodesh, as you begin another incredible month of learning Daf together. Today's Daf, the Daf for Aleph Teves, has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf as an incredible Schos Alil Neshama for Aryaleib ben Yaakov, a Yid that was zeichet to learning Radim by Rav Naftali Trop. Wow, is all I could say. Today's learning is for his yahrzeit. The yahrzeit is today on Aleph Teves, and B'siyata D'Shmaya, the learning of the entire Chabura should bring Aryaleib ben Yaakov to a higher place in Gan Eden Shamayla, and ultimately be a milat yosher on his family and the entire Chabura, connecting us to the Gedalim of a year gone by, and Emir Hashem giving us the schos of Torah to go with clarity into another month of learning the Daf together. And we pick it up, Samach Aleph Amud Aleph. We are 5 lines down, Ibayilahu. We ended off the previous year with a bit of a cliffhanger. We had a shayla. We wanted to know, what does Yoim mean? In the Mishnah, we learned Ha-Yoim. We learned Yoim Echad. And the question was, what about in the middle? What if you just say Yoim? What's its status? And we try to bring rayas back and forth, and ultimately we were not able to bring a raya, and the Gemara left it. And now we pick it up from where we left off, Samach Aleph and Aleph, 5 lines down, Yibayiluhu. Amar Yayim Shani Tayin Yoivel. Someone made a neder that he will not drink wine for a yoivel. What is the halacha? And now the Gemara quantifies what is the suffix. Shnas chamishim kilifnei chamishim oy kilacher chamishim. The question is, what do we do with year 50? Does year 50, is year 50 part of the previous yovel? So he makes a neder for the yovel. It includes year 50, or no, year 50 is the start of the new cycle, and therefore is not part of the neder. Tashema, says the Gemara, let's bring a raya. The Tanya learned in a brayso. Plukta to Rav Yehuda v'Rabbanan. We have a brayso which shows us that this is a machlokes. Rav Yehuda and the Rabbanan. Says the Torah, v'kidashtem eshnas chamishim shana, and you should make holy. You should sanctify the 50th year, and you should sanctify this 50th year. As we pull up the pasuk that, no, you cannot see, but now you could. Says the pasuk, let's look at it together. Kidashtem es shnas chamishim shana, ukrasim teror ba'aretz chol yoshveh. Everyone becomes free. Yoivel hi tiyeh lachem. Should be a year of Yovel. V'shavtem ishal chuzasai, v'ishal mishpachti tashuvu. Everything goes back. This is the pasuk of Yovel. So what does the pasuk say? V'kidashtem, and you shall sanctify as shenas hachamishim shana. So from here, the Gemara learns out, the price I should say, learns out a machlokes between Rav Yehuda and the Rabbanan on how to learn up this pasuk. Shenas chamishim Ata moine, viata moine, shnas chamishim v'yechad. The first opinion holds, as the Gemara is going to continue articulating, that the 50th year is yovel, but not the 51st year. Viata moine shnas chamishim v'achas. Mikan omru. So what does that mean? From here we learn out, Yovel ina oile leminyan shavua. Yovel is not a part of the new cycle. It's not year 1 in the new cycle, but rather it's year 50 of the previous cycle. That is the sheet of the Rabbanan. Rav Yehuda Omer, and ultimately this brayso is going to come back to answer our question whether Yovel, when one makes a neder for a Yovel, is a part of the previous year or not. Rav Yehuda Omer, Yovel oile leminyan shavua, that no, Yovel does indeed count as part of the Shemitah cycle. Says the Gemara, it's the first year's Yovel of the next cycle. So Amrullah, the Rav Yehuda, the Rabbanan responded to Rav Yehuda. Hareu Omer, says the pasuk, Shei Shanim Tizra Sadecha. We know that every Shemitah is a 7-year cycle. So for 6 years, you work your field. And year 7 is Shemitah. But it's saying the Rabbanan to Rav Yehuda, based on what you just said, that the 50th year is also year 1 of the new cycle. Vein kan ela chamish. You're only going to have 5 years to plow that year. What do you mean? Because year 50, the year of Yovel, you can work the field. If that's called year 1 of the next 7 years, let's go like this. If that's year 1 of, there he goes. If year 50 is year 1, and year 50 you can't plow, what do you got left? You got left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then Shemitah is again over here. So if year 50 is part of year 1, you only got 6 years in the next year that you can work. And the Pasuk says that every Shemitah you only have 5 years, that you can work. And the Pasuk says that you got 6. So Amar Lehem. So Rabbi Yehuda responds and retorts back to the Chachamim, L'Divreichem. Always a L'Divreichem, it's important to know. L'Divreichem is a rebuttal, meaning Rabbi Yehuda now is going to fire back to the Rabbanan and show, good question, accepted, but I'm going to prove to you that you also have a problem. And if you also have a problem, something's going to have to give. So says Rav Yehuda to the Chacham L'Divreichem, according to you, Harei Omer says the pasuk, a very famous pasuk, V'asisa zatvua l'shali shanim, that Hashem is going to make the 6th year enough for 3 years. Why 3 years? Year number 6, year number 7 that you can't work the field, and year number 8 before the crop grows. But Harei Kan Arba. But according to you, the Chachamim, that the Yovel is the 50th year of the previous cycle. So what do you have? You have 7 sevens. Then the last year you have 7. So this is year 7, and the next year is Yovel, that you can't work your field either. So you don't need crop for 3 years. You need crop for 4 years. Year 6, year 7 of a Shemitah, year 8 of a Yovel, and then year 9 we'll call it, which is really the next cycle, because nothing's growing yet. Parenthetically, now everyone understands why we're still seeing ads from the wonderful Karen Hashviyas and organizations that help out the farmers, because we're now in the first year of the next Shemitah. So everyone says, oh, think great. No, not great. Because really the bracha should have been for 3 years, because this year as well, it takes time for the crop to grow. So that is Rav Yehuda's fire back to the Chachamim. So says Rav Yehuda, Ella, 4 lines in the bottom of Samach Aleph, Amar Aleph, Ella Ikala Ukma Bishnar Shavua. So what are you going to answer me? You're going to answer me that when the Torah says that there's a 3-year bonus, that in year 6 you get enough for 6, 7, 8. What are you, the Chachamim, going to be forced to answer that this is referring to when? This is referring to all the other years. It's true. It doesn't refer to year Yovel. True, but it refers to other years. So says Rabbi Yehuda, what was your question to me? Your question to me was that I had a similar problem. That if I'm saying that the Yovel is a new cycle, then that year you only get 5 years to work your field and not 6. I'll answer as well that the pasuk of Vikidashtem Eshnas Chamishim is as well going to be referring to the other years. So the Gemara tried to have. So the Gemara basically does prove that our shaila of whether the neder, a koinam of yayin shanitayim for yovel, will be dependent upon this machlokes Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim. Within the discussion of Yehuda and the Chachamim, we hit a stalemate. Each one holds their own. And we continue 2 lines in the bottom. Samach Aleph Amar Aleph Ad HaPesach Aser. Quoting the Mishnah was machlokes Rameir and Rav Yosi. This is the end of the Mishnah. We could for a moment scroll all the way back, or flip all the way back, we should say, to Samach Amar Aleph, The end of the Mishnah said that if someone says, Ad Lifnei HaPesach, then, no, that's not what he says. Ad HaPesach, that's what he said. Then, Aser Ad Sheyagia, Ad Sheyehei, Aser Ad Sheyetze, Ad HaPesach, Ad Lifnei HaPesach, Rameir Omer Aser Ad She'egia, Rav Yomi Omer Aser Ad She'yetzei. So again, here we're having, that's again, the confusing part is our Gemara just says Ad HaPesach V'chulu. We're talking about the V'chulu. Talking about the final case, of Ad Lifnei HaPesach. Rameir says Ad She'agia, and Rav Yosi says until Pesach concludes. So again, someone makes a neder Ad Lifnei HaPesach. The Mishnah said it's a Machlokes Rameir and Rav Yosi. So it says the Gemara, and again, let's remember the Shita. The Shita is very important. Rameir says until Pesach starts. Rav Yosi says until Pesach concludes in the Mishnah. Says the Gemara Lamemra. From our Mishnah, it seems to say, last line, Samachal Aleph, the Rav Meir Savar, Lo Mayel Inshi, Lis Feika. Seemingly, Rav Meir is of the opinion that one does not get himself into a suffix, and that's the reason why Rav Meir is going to be the opinion that you're only going to be forbidden until when? You're only going to be forbidden until Pesach begins, because you don't get yourself into a suffix. So anytime we're not sure what the story is, what are we going to say? We're going to say that according to Rav Meir, it's not a suffix, and therefore it's only usher until Pesach begins. But in Tamachal from the Beis, Rav Yosi Savar, what does Rav Yosi hold? That you get yourself into a suffix, meaning, says Rav Yosi, when you say Ad Lifnei, we're not sure what that means, and therefore it's usher until Pesach concludes. But says the Gemara, if that is accurate, that Rameir says we don't get involved in Sfeikus. Rav Yosi says we get involved in Sfeikus. Rameir says also until Pesach starts. Rav Yosi says also the entire Pesach, because Ad Lifnei could include it till one moment till the end of Pesach. So it has two wives and two sets of daughters. V'amar Kidashti as BT Hagidayla. 4 lines down, and the man says, I'm being Mekadesh, my older daughter. But he doesn't say which one. He has 2 wives, 2 sets of daughters. We don't know. Is it the oldest of the oldest one? Im Gedayla Shebekitanis, the oldest of the younger one, in Kitana Shebekidailis. Or does he mean the younger of the older daughter? Why? Because she is relatively, she Gedayla Mina Gedailis. She Gedayla Mina Gedayla Shebekitanis. We don't know what he means. To just simply, he has 2 wives, he's Rachel and Leah, and then he has A, B, C, and D. So who could be the oldest daughter? Either A, that's Mamish the oldest, or C, that's oldest from the second wife Leah, or even B, because B is older than what? C and D from Leah. What's the halacha when someone says such an open-ended Kiddushin? Kulan Asurais. They're all forbidden, of course, misafek, because we do not know. Who says they're forbidden misafek? Divrei Rabbi Meir. Only Rabbi Meir. That is the stira. Because in the top line, we said that Rav Yosi is the one that puts you into suffix. And here we see that Rabbi Meir does. Chutz min haketanis shabiktanis, aside from the youngest, that's for sure not involved. That one's not ulcer. And now Rav Yosi Omer says Rav Yosi. Excuse me, there we go. Says Rav Yosi, 10 lines down. The first one line is Yosi, Kulan Mutarais, Chutz min haketanis shabiktanis. So we see the exact opposite of that which we said in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah implied that Rav Yosi gets yourself into Sfeikus, and here we see Rav Meir gets yourself into Sfeikus. Answers the Gemara, the classical teretz for such a kasha, Amar Rav Chanina bar Rav Dimi, Amar Rav, Mochlefes Hashita. Switch up the Mishnah, we had it wrong. In the Mishnah, it seemed that Rav Yosi says you get involved in Sfeikus. No, really it's Rav Meir gets involved in Sfeikus. And Rav Meir is going to be the opinion that says, not like it says in the Mishnah that it's only also until Pesach, but the opposite. Rav Meir gets involved in Sfeikus and you're also the entire Pesach. Ve'ha Tanya. And this Ve'atanya is not a kasha, it's a nichusa, it's a raya. Ve'atanya says the Brisa says someone has a set time, Amar Ad Lifnei, Ramei Ad Sheyetze, V'Yossi Amar Ad Sheyagia. So what do we see? We see that the Brisa says clearly when you say Lifnei, Rameir is the opinion that's saying Ad Sheyetze till it concludes, getting yourself in Sveikus, a raya that indeed we should switch around the opinions in our Mishnah. And we continue with the Mishnah halfway down. Samachal from the base says the Mishnah. Ad hakotzir. So it makes a neder until the reaping of the grain. Ad habotzir. Till the grape harvest. Ad hamasik. Till the olive harvest. All three words meaning the harvesting, the picking, but each one referring to a different entity. Wine, grapes, or olives. Einai aser elo ad sheyagia. You're only forbidden until the time for the harvest arrives, the start of such a season. Zah klal is the rule. Kol shezemanai kavua. Anything that has a set time. Va'amar ad, and he says until sheyagia. Aser ad sheyagia, that he's forbidden until it starts. Amar ad sheyehei, he says it's aser until it shall be. Aser ad sheyetzi is aser until it ends. Chol she'ein zemanai kavua, if he doesn't have a set time. Bein amar ad sheyehei, bein amar ad sheyagia, and aser ad sheyagia doesn't have a set time, so he always means until it starts. Ad hakayitz, so it makes a neder. It's examples of the rules that we just said. So it makes a neder until the kayitz, which it means harvest. Ad sheyehei hakayitz. What does he mean? He means until the harvest begins. Ad sheyaschilu ha'am lahachnis bechal kalos. What does he mean? Until the harvest of the figs begins, until people walk in with their fruit baskets. Ad sheyavar hakayis. Whereas if he said until the harvest passes, ad sheyakpilu hamuksais. What that means is until they fold their knives, they put away their knives, they finish the harvest. And we just conclude today's shir with one last piece of Gemara. Says the Gemara on the bottom of Samach Aleph and Beis, Tana, Kalkala Sha'amru, this example that we said at the end, that they walk through with their basket. Says the Gemara, what does this refer to? Kalkala Shel Te'enim, refers to figs. V'lai Kalkala Shel Anavim, and not grapes. And not to grapes. Tani, we learned in the Brisa. If you said peiros hakayitz, what do peiros hakayitz refer to? Refers to k'einim, and that is the similar thing that we said at the end of the Mishnah. They've said ad hakayitz is referring to te'inim, figs, referring to the basket of figs. Rashba goimer anavim bechlal te'inim, says Rav Shimon Gamliel, no, grapes are included in such a neder, similar harvest. My time with Tanakama. Why did the Tanakama hold that kayitz refers to figs? Because savar te'inim miksasan biyada, anavim lo miksasan biyada. Because the Tanakama holds that how do you harvest a fig? You harvest a fig by hand. You pluck it by hands. Whereas anavim, when it comes to grapes, you do not pick it with your hand. Rather, you cut off a whole cluster with a knife. And therefore, the word kayitz literally means picking. So kayitz, the Tanakama holds, refers to figs, which is an entity that you pick. Whereas Rashbag Savar, Anavim Nami, grapes as well, Kimir Dadan Miksasam Biyada. Says Rav Shimon Gamliel, grapes as well, when they are dried out, you as well at times pick them with your hands. So says Rav Shimon Gamliel, if someone were to make a neder of kayitz, of picking, he also could be referring to grapes, and therefore will include a neder of grapes. We'll pick it up from the bottom over here in the next shiur, B'siyata Dishmaya.